Meeting of the Carson City Airport Authority for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 will please come to order. May we have the roll call and determination of a quorum, please?
Vice Chair Norvell,
Here.
Treasurer Rogers, Member Pulitz,
Here.
Member Golden,
Here.
Member Hamilton,
Here.
Member Hutter,
Here.
Member Horton. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Mr. Pulis will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Tim. Approval of the minutes of past meetings of the Airport Authority. Are there any corrections or modifications to the minutes of October 18th, 2023? Seeing none, then we stand in need of a motion to approve the minutes of October 18th, 2023 as written.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I second. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'll abstain. I was not present in the last meeting.
Okay, Mr. Golden is abstaining. Thank you. Modification of the agenda. The chairman reserves the right to modify the agenda in order to most effectively process the agenda items. Items may be taken out of order. Items may be combined for consideration by the authority. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. There will be no modification to the agenda. Public comment. Members of the public who wish to address the Airport Authority may speak on agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chairman to calendar the matter for a future Airport Authority meeting. Are there any comments from members of the public? Seeing none, we move on to Airport Engineers Report. Do we have the engineer on the phone, Corey, or not?
They do have the information,
Okay.
but I don't see them up on the.
You want to brief us on what you have so we can keep going?
Sure. Acquire snow removal
I'm
equipment.
here.
Oh, there she is. All right.
Oh, is that Nadine?
Sorry, I was just now able to unmute.
Okay. Well, welcome to our meeting. Nadine, please continue.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so for the 3 projects we have going on right now, the snow removal equipment, I don't have a significant update on that other than we do have another tentative delivery for this coming spring in 2024. At this time, that's the only information that I have. But of course, we'll keep you updated as that changes. Yeah. The Pappy construction project, we are actually having oh, I'm sorry, was there a question?
Nope.
Oh,
Just
okay.
comments and size.
Yeah.
Please
I
continue.
totally understand. The offset Pappy construction project for the nighttime approach, after putting this list together, we do have a little bit more information. We're going to have Corey and I are going to have a meeting with Titan tomorrow. And so we should be able to pin down a start date and pin down a schedule and kind of a more of a defined phasing in terms of what work shall be performed in the near future versus when they can complete it when they have all the parts in. That's a lot of the discussion is going to be discussing lead times for certain parts and things of that nature. And so we are under material submittal review with Lean Corp at this time. And for the snow removal equipment building, we did, again, since this list was put together, we did receive a tentative schedule from Houston Smith Construction. Corey has that document. I would say it's ambitious, but if we're being optimistic, I think it can be done. They want to start a little bit of the, I want to say, earthwork, site prep and that kind of thing next month. So we could be underway with that alongside with the conversation of the schedule. We are, again, working through the rest of the material submittals. And we're working with the architect and all of the sub-consultants as well, just making sure everything is, everything that will be supplied is approved and to spec and to the design. So that is all I have for you. I can entertain any questions if there are any.
Any questions from board members for Nadine?
I guess maybe one with reference to the snow plow truck. I mean, maybe I lost lock on this somewhere along the way a couple of years ago, but what is the reason for the delay that goes out this far? Like what?
We're not getting a definite answer on that either, as far as like why exactly it keeps getting pushed. The generic answer we're getting is that it's not ready, that the parts aren't in, or one part's not in, so they can't complete certain installation of a certain part of it. We're not getting very clear information either. And so that, unfortunately, I can't really say what caused the delay.
Gotcha.
I can add a little bit to that.
Please do.
It's not any good news. The fire department has been waiting on ambulances for about the same time period. So it's not just this truck or this company even. With these types of trucks, the delays are 2 years or more. And we're seeing that with other departments in the city too. So
Thanks for the color.
Okay, anything else from board members for Nadine? Okay, Nadine, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here with us on the phone.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, good evening. Thank you. Okay, item number G, consent agenda. There are no items on consent this evening. Item number H, public hearings. For discussion of possible action, special election of FY 24-25 Carson City Airport Authority Officer Chair. Mr. Takis, do you have any comments before we move forward?
Yeah, just real briefly, as you all know, the authority unanimously voted for Tim Pullitz to be the chairman this last summer when we were required to do elections July of odd numbered years. His term ended October 1st, and when that happened, it removed his ability to serve as chairman. Unlike the U.S. House of Representatives, you actually have to be a member of this body to be the speaker of the body or the chairman of the body. And so the purpose for having this on is so that you guys can re-elect a chairman. Presumably you'll elect the same person, you're not required to. And so the process would be that someone makes a nomination or more than one nomination. You close the nominations, you take a vote. And the only position that we've are noticed for is for chairman. So we're not proposing in this action to change the vice chair or the secretary treasurer or anything like that.
Hey, Steve, thank you. I'm assuming there's no discussion from board members. It's pretty self-evident. Members of the public, any comments? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Nominations are now in order for the position of chairman. Tim Pulis has been nominated for chairman. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are now closed. All in favor of Tim Pulis for chairman, may so signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, Tim Pulis is elected chairman. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, two times.
The gavel.
Great.
Change the name.
No, you're still vice chair. You're still vice chair. It's okay, we'll do it next week, next month, next time. Good. Well, thanks, everybody, appreciate your confidence. Let's move on to agenda item number H2. This is for discussion and possible action, approval of airport reimbursement agreement for legal and engineering costs for the CTE Through the Fence project on the east side of the airport, opposite taxiway Bravo. And I'm calling for staff summary.
Yeah, this is Steve Takis. John Griffin, who is an attorney here in town and does a lot of legislative work as well, represents CTE or has been engaged by CTE to help them with some of their projects. And he had heard from us, either through CTE or maybe directly, that we were a little concerned about putting effort onto CTE projects, given how the lease project that we had attempted a few years ago, was it a few years ago? Maybe a year ago. We had done a lot of work, put a lot of time and energy into it, and then the final analysis, CTE had done their cost analysis and decided not to go forward. And so having told them about it, I think what CTE is doing here is the right thing. They're coming back to us saying, okay, look, we're not here to stiff you. We'll put up a sum of money so that you have money to work against for your engineering and legal expenses. And that's what this agreement is set up to do. John Griffin originally sent it to me. I sent some edits back to him. I know Rob Howie had some edits. And the end result is this agreement, which I think is fairly solid. It's pretty simple. They're going to put $50,000 in an account for us to draw against. And of course, we're going to let them know as we're pulling money out. We'll have a process to do that. And we'll utilize those funds to reimburse ourselves. Now, the reimbursing ourselves is set forth in Title 19. Title 19 says an applicant must reimburse the authority for engineering and legal costs, and we have done that on projects in the past. And so that's not out of the ordinary. What I think is a little bit unusual, but in a good way, is the fact that they're coming forward and saying, hey, we'll deposit some money on account so you don't worry about getting stiffed. The agreement also says that if we get to the end of that $50,000, and that could well happen because there are a lot of unknowns on this project, but if we get to the end, then we'll negotiate something new going forward. I'm sensitive to their concern that they don't want to have an open checkbook and go on years with us drawing money on a project. And the flip side is we need to have some protection too, that if we get to that point, we've exhausted the funds, then we need to have the discussion with them, okay, what are we going to do now? So that's what the agreement itself is pretty simple. And in fact, it's purposely, I think, pretty simple, and that's what we're asking you to approve here. And staff's recommendation that you approve this.
Very good, Mr. Takis. Well, with that, can I make a call on a member to make a motion?
Discussion.
Discussion I was going to have after that, but we can.
Board discussion.
Okay. Board discussion. Yes.
Can we have a discussion amongst us?
Yes.
Okay, may I comment?
Yes, please do.
So when this applicant, doesn't matter who the applicant was, it's the concept. When this applicant went to negotiate a lease with us a year ago to lease land to develop hangars, there was concern by members of the airport authority regarding the professional fees that had been run up in the process of negotiating the lease. And we had taken that lease all the way to the point of finalization. The dollar amount of legal fees incurred was between $20,000 and $30,000. Now, I was the one who said, wait a second, there's a statutory requirement that the applicant pay those fees and the airport be reimbursed. That is set forth. It is correct. It's in the Carson City Municipal Code. Our council can cite it for you if anyone would so desire. The applicant never paid the fees. And I think that it's a good thing to have an agreement like this in place. However, an agreement like this isn't necessary under the circumstances with any applicant. They should be paying the fees for this. And we have, in the past, billed out the fees. Now, I'm not advocating we don't do this, don't mistake me. But I think there is some background here that everybody needs to understand. The airport authority incurred between $20,000 and $30,000 in legal fees with this applicant, was never reimbursed for it. And to me, that's a travesty because every other applicant pays. My opinion is this number is too low of $50,000. Our council had originally, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, gone before them with this agreement and put in $100,000. If we burned through $20,000 on a lease negotiation, we're certainly going to burn through more than $50,000 on this matter. I would recommend we go at a minimum $75,000 on this. And keep in mind, it doesn't become our money. It sits in an escrow account. It's of no benefit to us, but I think we need to be prudent under the circumstances because we have an obligation to pay our legal counsel no matter what. So those are my comments.
Anybody else?
Well, I guess I have a question for council. I guess this is where we're doing comments or discussion. Is that right? Okay. So maybe reference what Member Golden just mentioned. Can you give us some context as to why? I don't recall during that prior lease negotiation piece that we had. I don't recall there having been conversation in reference to the statutes that are mentioned here. And I guess the question is, did we at some point specifically request reimbursement for legal fees in that lease negotiation? Or did we, at the outset of that, call attention to those statutes that would require repayment for these professional services? Because I just don't, this makes a lot of sense. I just don't recall the matter coming up when we had the lease negotiation.
And I honestly, I don't think it did come up when we were doing the lease negotiations. I think what was happening is we were looking at a pretty sizable lease payment because the piece of property they were going to lease was a pretty big piece. And I think that we were focused on that. I don't think we ever brought up that issue with them until probably after it occurred, because we were surprised when we had the lease all ready to go and they called us and said they wanted to have a meeting, and they said, well, we've done our due diligence now and this doesn't make economic sense for us, so we won't be signing the lease. And they're very polite about it, and they outlined why they had come to that conclusion. But that's where we're going, oh, this is not good. So to answer your question, I don't think we referenced it before. It certainly wasn't in any of the agreements or any of the written documents that I reviewed with respect to those lease negotiations. I don't know that it has to be written. I mean, the statute, right, the Carson City Municipal Code is the code. But still, I think the reason for them coming forward with this is to avoid that situation. And I think they deserve some credit for that. I don't think that's something to criticize them for. As to the amount, yeah, the original amount that John Griffin and I discussed was 100,000. When the agreement got to me, it was at 50,000. I honestly don't know what it's going to cost. There are a lot of issues to work through with their proposed through the fence access because it's to multiple properties. I don't know what the engineering and legal fees will be, but you got to start someplace. And from the staff standpoint, I think 50,000 is as good a number as any to start with.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, do we know who the last applicant is that we required to put money on deposit?
I don't off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that we have billed back people. We've billed back them for appraisals. We've billed them back for other projects where we had external engineering expenses that we did not anticipate, and we've gotten to be paid back. But I couldn't tell you from memory who they were.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I just was wondering, I don't recall anybody in the past that has put money
Oh, I'm sorry.
as a retainer.
No, to my knowledge, at least of my history with the airport authority, I'm not aware of any case where someone posted a deposit as they're proposing.
Well, I guess I would just, with respect to the amount, seems pretty clear that nobody discussed with them up front when we were talking about the Bravo property. I think that's what the issue was at the time, that these expenses needed to be borne by them. That entered into the discussion after the fact when they had decided they would not proceed. So
It's a little bit like saying, well, I know it is in the law, but I didn't know about it, officer. That argument doesn't play very well in a courtroom or any place. So I'm not sure the fact that we didn't discuss it really is it. But, you're not obligated to charge them those fees. It's written into the Title 19, but ultimately it's your call as to what you're going to do about that. And so I'm certainly not blaming them for what happened. Well, I still wish they would have signed the lease because we put so much work into it, but
There'll be time for comment.
I'm certainly not thinking they should be penalized for the fact that that didn't pan out that way. It's ultimately your decision what to do, but this is a step in the right direction. And so I kind of hate to see this get somehow clouded by what happened before.
that was my point.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for the comments. I also have a comment. What was said by Mr. Takis and Mr. Norvell are correct. I've been on the board for 4 years, and I don't recall asking for legal fees support. Not that it's not authorized, I just don't recall us ever asking for one. I was also very disappointed when we put all that time and money into it and found out that they backed out. I think Mr. Golden's correct that it's probably going to be more than 50, but I also, from reading the proposal, they're not saying they won't pay what it actually costs. They're just saying they want to give us a good faith deposit. So to me, I'm looking at that more as a good faith deposit than it is an actual trying to limit the amount of legal fees that we may incur, because from what we all understand, they're going to be asking to make some significant adjustments to the existing Title 19 provisions that are going to have to go in front of the city and the airport authority and be reviewed by the FAA. So we have a lot of things to work with. I personally think that I would accept it as written as far as I'm concerned at this time. Now, I know that Bruce wants to make a statement. Should we wait till after we make our motion? Can he do it now? He can do it now. Bruce, go ahead.
If you make your motion, and then I make a statement before, if you make the motion, it doesn't affect it then, right?
Go ahead.
All right. First off, final board meeting of the year. Thank you all. Enjoyed CTE, getting to know you, work with you. 2023 recap. I think we did some pretty good things. Fuel farm, major project review, special use permit, in for building permit now, temp, truck to truck transfers. Pretty sure we took over an assignment, a lease from, I would say, a problem tenant for you, Tom Gonzalez. What else we got going on? Anyways, so productive year, 2024, look forward to it. I'm a man of few words, so I'm gonna make a quick statement. Construction seems to be difficult, as stated by your engineer's report. I don't lose sleep over construction. I do that in my sleep. I've been walking in job sites for 15 years. In here, the ambiguous, the unknown, the uncertainty of the private individual to invest a significant amount of money in Carson City. And I don't want to make a flippant, arrogant comment, but I don't know anyone else that's lined up to put as much money as we are in the state of capital of Nevada. So again, man of few words, not going to address anything that Michael Golden said. I will say 2 comments on the $25,000, $30,000. I haven't asked for the receipts. We paid for the appraisal, and I'm pretty sure 2 acres of that went toward Chilton. I'm pretty sure we paid for that lease. So I'm a little sensitive to it. I'm on record and not going to say much. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. Appreciate you all. 2024, good chance I'm going vertical with something. So thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Any other discussions by the board before we make a motion? Okay, with that being said, then discussion is closed, and now I'm going to call to take a vote. Is there anyone who want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the reimbursement agreement as written.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Discussion on the motion.
Any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to airport manager's report.
All right, airport manager's report. In the report that's in the board packet, the fuel flowage numbers are missing. There's an additional sheet that I handed out. The only change between what's in the packet and this sheet is the addition of the October fuel flowage numbers. It looks like a loss over the previous year, and it is. It's a negative 30%, 37% over the previous year. But I looked more closely at the numbers, and the numbers from 2022 were about 150% increase over 2021. So that's a pretty significant increase in October 22 that we're comparing to. I'm not sure what happened in October of 2022 that would have caused that. I don't know, Michael, maybe you have some insight into that, but it was a big year for fuel. So
We could have had an aerial survey going on. I don't recall. We have so many contracts with parties to fuel their aircraft that I don't know. Something must have been going on.
yeah. So it was an increase over 2021, but not over 22. Nevada Day Parade was a success. The airport truck towed an aircraft for the Sheriff's Aero Squadron, and we had a sign on the side of the truck that had an advertisement for the September 7th, 2024 open house. I actually had received some feedback on it, so people definitely saw it. The aircraft was provided by Sport Aviation Center in the Sport Flight School at the airport. Civil support team training. So there was a fairly large training exercise done at the airport. This was training at the airport terminal building. Stellar Aviation contributed to it. The EAA building and other hangars on the airport. This training was done by the National Guard and the Army. And this is a group that searches for and responds to weapons of mass destruction. So it's really good that we were able to contribute to our community in that way and provide the facilities for that. And also a big thank you to our tenants who contributed to that as well. I'm going through the Leadership Institute program through the Chamber of Commerce, and this month it was actually really informative with presentations from different departments from the city, including the treasurer, the community development, tax assessor's office, and the mayor. We also had a tour of the water treatment facilities, which was really interesting. The Pro Group Safety Services team came by the airport and performed a safety inspection. They found no concerns. And this is what our workers' compensation insurance is through. They also identified that they have some free training available to airport staff. Rick Lee is going through their documentation that they gave us to select some training that may be beneficial for us to take. Airport operations. Airport operations has been busy getting ready for winter, so they did a comprehensive inspection of lighting and made all the necessary improvements going into winter. These sign panels, this is something that I identified as needing to be a higher priority when I first started here, and the signs are almost all now in compliance with the FAA requirements for the color variations of the signs. There's still a little bit more work to do, so next fiscal year we'll keep a budget item for that. We replaced edge lights, about 10 edge lights. Cody and Rick, we decided to add gutters to the terminal building last year to try to improve the walkway during the winter months. The gutters by themselves are not enough, so now we've added heat tape to those gutters to hopefully get that moisture out of there. Mowing has been completed for the season, and the equipment has been converted over for snow removal. Total aircraft operations for October, 3,842 according to the ADSB data, and additional charts are below.
Corey, I have a question. Is it possible to give us a reference to last year's, when we do those reports, kind of keep a record so we can see if there's been a movement up or down on airport? It's just a number unless we see if it's moving in a different direction.
Yeah, that's on my to-do list. I need to go back and create a spreadsheet with all the data from each
Yeah, keep a
meeting.
list so we can just kind of refer to that. Thanks.
Yeah, and I can present that the same way we do the fuel flowage.
Okay. That it?
Yep.
Okay, very good. How about legal counsel?
I don't have anything new to report. Thank you.
And our treasurer is not present, so we'll push that off to next month. Unless anybody wants to discuss the financials, no? Anybody? The published financials, okay. Any reports from authority members? Now's your time.
Well, I do have one, but it's not particularly exciting. It's kind of just procedural. I had this weird feeling when we started this meeting and did the approval of the minutes. My memory was off by a month. I was not at last month's meeting, and yet I made the motion to approve the minutes and voted yes for it. So if we need to do anything, this would be the time, but
You don't need to do anything.
Okay.
That's okay.
great.
We can also make the assumption that you could have reviewed the video and you could have actually read the minutes, but
Fair enough.
There's always that opportunity.
Mr. Chairman,
Keeping my political nose clean.
Go ahead, Mr. Norvell.
any luck on getting that culvert tested on the perimeter road?
I actually did get a response from that company just yesterday. We're on their schedule, but they're just very busy. So it's hopefully they get to it before weather becomes an issue. But we're definitely on their list, and
We got something on the road, right?
we got something on the culvert. The culvert we know was rated for 86,000 pounds.
How much?
86,000. But that's not counting the road on top of it. That's just the culvert itself. So what we need is the information on the road.
What about the road itself? Did we ever get anything?
That's what we don't have.
Oh, okay, all right. So we're still waiting,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
we're on the schedule.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, and
you.
the culvert numbers, they're very high. I don't suspect the road to be as high as the culvert is.
all right, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? And there's no public comment, obviously. So, unless someone has something else, this meeting's adjourned. I gotta update my notes.